Thank you once again for joining your favorite cooking channel. Today we're going to make aubergine. If you know me, you know I love aubergine a lot. And today I'm going to give you aubergine, which is made with meat. So sometimes you want to enjoy your aubergine, like you going to chop or something. You want to have some meat in there. And so today I'm going to do aubergine with meat base in there. So to kick off, I'll need, of course, my palmnut base, but then I also need my vegetables. So I have a blend of vegetables, which is a turkey berry, onion, tomato, pepper, ginger, garlic, and of course I have beans, the black-eyed cowpea beans. I've got my wele. Of course, you can't do without my meat because it's a meat-based aubergine. And I have snails. This is sea snails. You can use land snails as well. I've got some aubergines and then some fish, fried tuna, and I've got my periwinkle snails or apofii, and fancy girl there. I have my Kako over there, and I've got some chunks of Kako for the aubergine as well. So I start off with my meat, and I add in the seafood, and I add in the wele. Then I pour in my local blend of spices, which is also in the description button below. Then I'm going to add in my salt as well. Then I'm just going to kind of mix them up and then add a bit of water and push it to the side. And I put my vegetables strategically at the other side. So as the meat is steaming up, the vegetables is also cooking. And beans take a lot of time. When you're using aubergine and you want to use beans, you buy the very small hard beans so that by the time the aubergine is done, the beans won't be overly soft. So this is what I do. And I place it strategically like that so that the turkey berries and things won't mix up. So if you don't arrange them properly, when you're scooping it out, you're going to have problems. So that is why I did half like that. Then once I'm done, I'm just going to blend the cooked vegetables. I'm going to cook the vegetables and then I'm going to now freely spread the meat and then the beans and everything for it to cook properly. Then once I'm blending, I'm going to add in my palmnut base. If you're new to palmnut or you want to learn how we do it locally, you can check my aubergine recipes. I've shared it on this channel. I'll leave links of it. If you're using very fresh aubergine, how to pound it, how to sieve it, and how to get the palmnut base for it. If you are using canned aubergine, I also have a recipe on that. I'll leave the link below for you to see how to work with it as well. So this is my palm base and I pour it in. Then I pour in the blended vegetables into it. If your blender is not too smooth, you can decide to sieve it to make sure that the seeds and other chaff don't go in. But if your blender is good, you just pour all of it in and you are done. So once it's coming to cook, I'm just going to allow it to boil down and thicken. And the thing about aubergine is when it's fresh like that, you realize that there's a bit of foam at the top. Don't be bothered. So you're just going to let it cook down. And then I add in my crabs. Once it is cooking down, that's about 30 minutes into cooking. This is a large pot of aubergine. That's when I added in the crabs. Then I allowed it to also cook. Then around that same time, I added in my fish and then my Kako and all those ones. If you put your Kako in at start, you may not have some to chew when it is done. So usually I tend to add in my Kako once I am like adding in the fish so that when it's done, you can have it to also chew as well. And the apofii and the crabs, they go in together a little earlier than the fish because seafood, even though I have pre-cooked it, it needs to go in early to balance so that you don't end up having running stomach when you eat the seafood. So that is one trick to it. And you need to cook it for it to go down and thicken the way you'd want it. I like my aubergine a little bit thick. And the beauty is once it is done, you can then check for your salt, whether it is okay or not. And I've told you that in Ghana here, the Kako is salty and like we tend to have a bit of more salt in there. And I forgot to mention my meat and the wele. I had a bit of jawara, which is salted lamb meat in there. So when you're spicing them, you can just have it in there. Plus, don't forget, I started my palmnut base with the meat, which had salt. That's why you didn't see me adding any other salt with time. And once it gets to this point, you just have to lower the heat for it to cook like very slowly and the oils to build up at the top. Sometimes people complain that, and I mean, there was no oil, there was no oil. You don't have to add any oil or anything like that. Just cook it. When it's done cooking and it's thick and it's ready to be eaten, you just need to make sure you lower the heat and let it simmer over the low heat for a period of time. The oil will just build up at the top. And when you put it off and it cools down, you see the oil at the top and then the palmnut soup base at the bottom. So for a pot of soup like this, it is, how do you call it? It may take you, even with constant heat, about 1.5 hours. That's the thing about abenquine. And you realize I did a very large batch. And then when I was done, I dished them out into some freezer bowls as well as my glass bowls to eat, my lunch bowls to eat, and all those ones. So this is how I do my meat abenquine. And once you prep all your ingredients, when you're doing abenquine, it is less stress. The only thing is, it's just going to take time to just cook because it's usually bulk in there. But when you do this style, you save yourself the stress and the time. So I hope you did enjoy this meat abenquine recipe, and I hope you give it a try. And let me see how it goes. Lots of love from my team and I. Mwah.